Welcome to the Tech Matchmaker, the show where contact center challenges meet their perfect tech match. I'm your host, Gina Gibson, and in just 15 minutes, we serve up the smartest, coolest innovations shaking up the contact center industry. Whether you're searching for your next solution or just love staying ahead of the curve, we've got the insights to keep you in the know. Let's dive in and discover what's next. I promise you, it's going to be fun. Hello, everyone. We are chatting with Michael Kinsella today from Klearcom, who is the Enterprise Solutions Manager, about automated testing. Michael, welcome to the podcast all the way from Ireland. Thank you. What an honor to
Yes,
have you.
Gina. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Gina. Obviously met you in person a good few times over in the US, and it's great to do this. Absolutely.
Awesome. Why don't we start with the basics? Michael, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Yes. So I work as an enterprise solutions manager in Clearcom, and just to tell you, I suppose I've been in the industry now for I'd say over 8 years in total. Before that, I had a kind of a varied history in banking. Don't hate me, and but I've been in telecommunications now for around 8 years, and basically in Clearcom. Very simply, I suppose, if you boil it down to exactly what we do. We help, some of the biggest companies in the world, whether they be US domestic or multinational companies, ensure that the experience of their customers is good when they're dialing through on like a toll or a toll-free number and navigating through the IVR. And I suppose we're like the crystal ball that, sits out there and, if there are issues, we're spotting those issues and we're letting you know as soon as we see them. They're all human verified. And once you get something from us, it means, okay, we need to drop everything and we need to go and we need to take action.
And Michael, I know you and I were just chatting for one of our mutual customers the other day about because everybody's, or not everyone, but a lot of people today have moved to a mobile experience, right? Using their mobile phones.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about how that testing works and how you guys cover off for every scenario, because not everybody is at home on a landline that's quiet. They might be in the car, they might be using a remote, hands-free, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely, yes. That's something obviously that we see more and more ourselves when we're out and about. That tends to be the time that you're going to do those calls. So I suppose if I think of it and I boil it down to, first of all, an example. So say, for instance, if I'm, dialing through to my bank, say, for instance, or if I'm on holidays and there's an issue with like my MasterCard or my Visa, it could be lost or stolen. I'm dialing through. I could be in like a hotel lobby. I could be in an airport or I could be on the street, but that call is critical. I need to basically, get through on that call. If there's a voice bot, I need to be able to dial through and I need to be able to, say why I'm calling. If it's something critical, like, my car has been stolen, I need that voice bot to be able to recognize exactly what I'm saying. And that's not just if it's in a perfect environment. It's, if there's, street noise or, any kind of background noise, it's going to make, that voice bot difficult to understand because we don't want to be stuck in that. We've all been stuck in that loop, I suppose, of, I didn't understand that. Can you repeat that? And then the call drops or we get rerouted back to the opening message and we're there going, oh, I don't have time for this or whatever. So we ensure basically by, we can test all of those different scenarios. So we can add background noise, we can test different personas, male, female, different, I suppose nationalities, and ensure that basically, that what all of our testing is replicating the exact experience. And even to go back to what you said first of all around the mobile testing, we've got the largest coverage of any company in the market, so any vendor in the market. So and nobody else does the testing like we do because we do the number testing and the IVR test as one test. So basically, we can dial through on the toll or the toll-free number right down through the IVR to the end agent. That's done in a single test and a single platform, and we do it in a 100% non-intrusive way. But I suppose the huge thing behind that is our global coverage. So we have, carriers in over 100 countries. We have around, I think it's 340 carriers that we use, and we do that across fixed line and GSM or mobile. lines, which means that, you can isolate and you can see, if a number is failing, we can test from all different carriers. The customer can test from all different carriers to ensure that, okay, this number is, say, for instance, not working through, AT&T, but it's actually dialable through T-Mobile. So you can isolate and you can say, oh, maybe the problem's with AT&T. And, that's just an example of, I suppose, where things can go wrong and how we help.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you kind of went to your differentiators in the market because one of the differentiators I think of when I think of Clearcom is your customer experience, right? So,
Yeah,
as a customer, that day two, and maybe you want to talk just a little bit about it. And I know you kind of touched on it. You said like every notification that needs to be looked at, we're on top of it. And that's you guys providing that service for the end customer, correct? Do you want to just kind of chat
exactly.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, say for instance, there's, I suppose, the most simple of kind of failures or alerts that we would send through. So, say a call fails to connect, or there's incorrect messaging on an IVR, or a node within the IVR, fails to connect. Well, basically, we've got a whole team behind that. So we will validate those actual, the alerts and those failure types. And we're going to then do that process in the background, and then we're going to send those alerts to the customer. So we're the only, again, vendor in the market that does this. Nobody else does it like this. So we have that full backing, and our customers obviously have that full backing of our testing support team. And it just means that, I suppose, nobody wants noise this day and age. If your busy telecom team and you're already dealing with, your day-to-day job, it's complicated enough, to be sending down noise and false alerts. Nobody wants to be dealing with that. We've had, customers that have, switched off certain, alerting tools because they just get noise. And we never want to be noise. We want to be, I suppose, just the clarity piece of their day-to-day job, that they know, okay, that's Clearcom. We need to scramble the jets and solve things now.
Yeah, I love that. Do you wanna give us one of your use cases, one of your success stories with your customer and kinda talk about what you solved, what your stats improved, like what did stats improve for them? Just give us an overview so our listeners can kind of relate to what could happen if they use ClearCom.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I suppose one of the key things when we bring a customer along to Clearcom, like your typical, I suppose, big multinational might have a lot of numbers. They might have a lot of toll-free numbers, or DIDs. Um, and what we'll do first of all is we'll take those numbers and do a health check on the numbers. So what we see actually on that very simple health check is that, some of those numbers, and I actually had a customer just yesterday that had, say for instance, I think they had around 200 numbers and they hadn't tested them, and some of those numbers had been recycled. So if you're not testing a number at a certain cadence, I think by law that number could actually be recycled by the carrier. So that first piece of discovering what's out there, discovering, okay, is that number, still mine? I'm paying for that number. So first of all, I suppose that's the key thing. The next step is, say, for instance, beyond that, and I suppose we've had the likes of Pfizer that have used us for like huge migration projects where they want to discover, are these numbers working? And then post migration, are these numbers working? And is all the messaging correct? Is everything, how I expect it to be? Because anybody that's doing migration, and Gina, you help customers do this the whole time, they're usually migrating for a reason, that they want to, ensure that the experience is better for them and better for the customer. So they want to basically establish, how did I look, pre-migration, and how did I look post-migration? And that's one of the key things, and we've done, I suppose, interviews with the likes of Angela in Pfizer, and she would have spoke about this on how we helped her through that process. And they're the things that we love, getting feedback from customers, and we've had a lot of, um, I suppose you wouldn't call it good fortune, but we've had, a lot of examples of where we've helped customers where, like that, numbers, because we're testing not just a number, but right down through the actual number in the IVR, we're seeing that, okay, this number, it was connecting maybe for 2 seconds, but it's getting disconnected. And because we're testing that number exactly how a customer, would dial it, we can identify those issues. And we've had some of the biggest brands in the world that have issues like that. And I don't want to get, I suppose, too specific on certain things, but I suppose, it's some of the biggest brands in the world that we use us for that kind of reason, and just to ensure that, if there are issues, and in certain markets, we had a large pharmaceutical company that had, say, for instance, a number in Panama. And that number we discovered actually after a lot of trial and error, because that number was actually only dialable from a very small carrier within Panama. You couldn't dial it from the incumbent carriers. That pretty much ruled out of, I think, 90% of the population, from dialing that number. And I suppose that's the kind of thing that we can pinpoint because we have that global coverage. And as I said, nobody else does it like that. So.
Very impressive. And now you've talked a little bit, clearly there's no vertical that should, is excluded from doing testing. What is kind of the threshold to where, like, how many 800 numbers should a company have, or is there a call volume, or how do they decide if they need automated testing?
I think it's down to, I suppose, on a case by case basis. It's really down to the critical nature of the numbers. So that's really, if you have, say, for instance, a lot of numbers, but I suppose it's all down to, what do you deem to be, the customer relationship like. So what way do you want to treat your customers? You want your customers to have a good experience when they're dialing through. You don't want it to become, say, brand impacting, that these numbers are not working. So there is no, I suppose, what would you call it, exact number. So it
Yeah.
depends if those numbers, like you could have, say, a large pharmaceutical company, they could have thousands of numbers, but maybe they have 50, clinical trial numbers. Those numbers can't afford to be down. These are like literally life and death numbers. So, if you're in a clinical trial, you'd be given something akin to like a credit card. It'll have the number on it that if, you start to have problems, here's the number to call. So you can't afford for those numbers to be down. So I suppose in that, example, the customer might have hundreds or thousands of numbers, but they might have, one number, or they could have 20 numbers that are clinical trials numbers, and they're critical. So yeah, I suppose it comes in all different shapes and sizes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes perfect sense. So, with everything in technology evolving so quickly every day, it seems like we're learning something new out there. What's next for Clearcom? What is kind of on the roadmap for Clearcom as far as what you guys are looking at releasing out into the market?
Yeah, I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
I'm only
I
joking.
did.
So, I suppose what we're doing in Clearcom is we're always looking at what our customers, you know, needs and wants. So we're, first of all, we've developed something that's really good and it's really powerful, but then we're taking feedback the whole time. And I suppose one of the key things with Clearcom is all of our development is done in-house. There's nothing that's outsourced. We've got an amazing development team, so they will work on, new releases of our platform that happens very often. And then also we'll have bespoke requirements, from different customers, and they will go off very quickly and develop these things. But I suppose, to be more concise, to answer your question, I suppose the key thing is, a lot of people are moving towards, and probably circles back to what we said at the start, around conversational AI. If somebody's dialing through, again, and you've got a voice bot, you want to be able to test that is the voice bot picking up on what you said and keywords. So, first of all, if you want to do that, say in a pre-production in a lab environment, you want to really test it robustly. You might want to test all different phrases to make sure that it's working. But then when you do your live testing, you don't necessarily want to do that. You just want to test, certain things, like the example I gave, like if it's, say, for instance, MasterCard or a credit card company, and you say, that, okay, something critical like, my card has been lost. You want that call then to be routed as quickly as possible to an agent. So I suppose there are some of the key things that we've worked on. Like I said, different personas that we have on the platform, and also, the likes of background noise. And we'll be obviously looking for, branching out into omni-channel testing. So, um, but we want to do it better than what's out there in the market. Everything I suppose that we've done before, nobody else has done it, and that's the way we look at those other, I suppose, things that are on our roadmap. We don't want to release them until people go, okay, this is different. So
Yeah. That's fantastic. And I think that is another differentiator for you, Michael, mentioning it is you are so agile and adaptable for your customers that if they
yeah,
do come to you with something that you guys are able to go ahead and depending on product management, of course, but work it into a release for them. So that's
yeah,
fantastic. To wrap up, Michael, I've always been a fan of James Lipton, and so we end the podcast with a few rapid fire questions.
go
So,
for it. Yep,
what is your favorite word?
Gina.
You're awesome. What's your real favorite word?
Oh, family.
What is your least favorite word?
Fight. It's
And what excites you the most?
new experiences. Sorry, that's not one word. So, um, it's you let me away with that one, will you? Yeah.
Wait with that one. You're okay on new experiences. Michael, if somebody wants to have a deeper conversation about Klearcom or get more information or a demo, who should they reach out to?
Well, in the first instance, I think Gina. So Gina Gibson at Think Forward, because Gina, like we've worked with you before with several customers, you know you've brought them to us, and I think you've been really kind of, I suppose, pleased with the service that we've provided them. And in the first instance, Gina. Otherwise, you can contact me directly, Michael Kinsella at Klearcom, but also you can go onto our website as well. So klearcom.com should be easy to remember. And also we're on, the likes of Instagram. We're on Twitter, or X as we call it now. And also we're on, for the young people, TikTok, which I have no idea what it is. But there you go.
Michael, it is always a pleasure to talk with you, but such a great honor to have you on the podcast and
Thanks so
for you
much.
to share your time with us today. So thank you so much.
Brilliant. Gina, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging out with us on the Tech Matchmaker. I hope today's spotlight sparks some fresh ideas and real solutions for your contact center. Want to dive deeper into the tech we featured? Hit up the show notes for all the links and extras, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if there's a challenge you want us to tackle, don't be shy, reach out. I'll catch you soon with more innovation, more use cases, and more ways to keep your business moving forward. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring what's next.